Hey guys, welcome back to Resin Vista Crafts. Today we're making a dark fantasy miniature scene called the Mimic Tavern. First, let's take a look at the 3D model. The model itself is not very large, but it's packed with details. Now, it's time to start printing. This time, I used a resin printer for the project. To preserve the teeth and tentacle details, I lowered the layer height quite a bit. I also added extra supports to avoid print failures on smaller parts. After printing, I cleaned the model first. Then I placed it into the curing machine for a second curing process. After removing the supports, I lightly sanded the model surface. Next comes the priming stage. First, I sprayed the entire model with black primer. This helps create more natural shadows later. Now, let's work on the stone sections. I started with a dark gray base color. I mixed in a little brown and black to make the stone look older. This helps the stone look aged instead of plastic. Then I started dry brushing. I used medium gray, light gray, and finally a little off-white, mostly focusing on edges, carved details, and the stairs. The details immediately started popping out. Next, I applied a black wash. This step mainly adds shadows. I let the diluted black paint flow into all the cracks and recesses. Then, I wiped away the excess paint using a paper towel. Areas like carvings, cracks, and stone edges became much more dimensional. After that, I added a dark brown wash. This step gives the model a much older feeling. It starts to feel like an underground ruin, a damp tavern, or an abandoned cathedral. I mainly applied it around corners, lower sections, and near the stairs. Now it's time to paint the monster itself. I started with dark red and purple red base colors. Then I gradually added brighter reds for highlights, mostly focusing on the tongue, mouth edges, and raised tentacle areas. This helps create much stronger depth. For the teeth, I didn't use pure white. Instead, I used a warm bone color. Then I added some dark brown around the roots of the teeth. This makes everything look much more realistic. Around the throne, I wanted a heavy rusted atmosphere. First, I painted metallic silver over the environment pieces, including abandoned shields, armor pieces, and metal debris. Then I slowly built up rust effects using reddish-brown tones. Finally, I started adding moss effects. I used olive green, dark green, and a little yellow green. First, I roughly dabbed the colors on with a brush. Then I used a sponge to remove some of the paint. This creates a much more natural effect. I also painted the base dark first. Then I used hot glue to secure the model onto the base. At the same time, I created some spreading flesh effects. Finally, I applied UV resin onto the tongue area. This gives the creature a much wetter appearance. After this step, the entire model suddenly felt alive. Next, I attached the model onto the base. Then I added the nameplate label. Finally, I covered everything with the transparent glass dome. Once completed, the whole piece looked incredibly cinematic, almost like a cursed collectible from an ancient tavern. Alright, the Mimic Tavern is finally finished. The final atmosphere turned out even better than I expected. I personally love this kind of dark, damp, Lovecraft-inspired miniature style. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed dark fantasy miniature projects like this, don't forget to like and subscribe. I'll continue making more monster taverns, abyss ruins, and Lovecraft-inspired scenes. See you in the next video.